to the In His Voice podcast, hosted by me, Rob L. Lowe. The show where we talk about those things that deeply impact the lives of boys and men without ever bashing women. We talk about everything from the bedroom to the boardroom, from the playground to the stadium, and everything in between. Today's show, today's episode, probably a more controversial one, more so than I've done in a while. But today's episode is about fatherhood. You know, I did a podcast several months back with a good friend of mine named Dr. Ken Coopwood, and it might have been in season 1, and we talked about the blessing that followed him because of the amazing role model that he had in his father, Mr. Coopwood, and I had a chance to meet him. And I was fortunate enough that I was raised by my grandfather. So when my mom died, my stepfather died, we were raised by our grandparents, and I was raised by my grandfather and my grandmother. And I'm sure he had his flaws, but my grandfather truly was a man's man. And he taught me that. And he taught me not just about masculinity and how to show it, how to respect it, how to have others respect it, what it meant, not to abuse it. But he also taught me about the responsibilities of being a man. And one thing I pride myself on, and this is pretty deep. One thing I pride myself on, I've made a lot of mistakes in my life. It's in my book. I wrote about it, right? I made a lot of mistakes in my life. But one thing I pride myself on, and I had this conversation with my daughter. I said, when I leave this earth, the thing that I want to be remembered for most is, was I a great father? And he said, well, I know people are thinking, well, don't you want to be remembered as a great husband? Well, of course, I want to be remembered as a great husband, a great brother, a great uncle, all those things. But being someone who grew up without a father or parents, I was raised by my grandparents. I lost my parents, my biological mom when I was 7 years old. My stepfather got killed 6 months before that, but he wasn't going to be the person I wanted to model my life after. My biological father left my mom when I was 2 and didn't do shit for us, and he lived in the same neighborhood. I'm named after him. Again, all that is in my book, right? So if you want to read the rest of those stories, go buy the book. So What? Keep Going. Great book, inspiring, powerful, raw, and uncut. But I know what it felt like to not have a father or to not have a parent. I had a grandparent's love, which was great, but it ain't the same as a mother and a father's love. And so I never expected to live past the age of 30. As a result, I never wanted kids. Never wanted it, didn't plan it, didn't want to have them. Not because I don't love them, because I didn't plan to live long enough to be able to raise them. And I didn't want kids to have to go through what I went through and be on this earth and have to live life without parents. And kids can be cruel. I can tell you growing up, there were kids that would make mama jokes and crack daddy jokes, and I didn't have a daddy, and my mama was this. And they didn't realize the shit that they were saying, that cut deeper than just a joke. But when my daughters were born, when my first daughter was born, Jania, I remember looking at her when after she was born. I remember staring at her, and I didn't say anything to anybody. I literally just prayed at that moment, God, please let me live long enough to see her grown and independent. Just let me live long enough to see her on her own feet. Don't take me from here on this earth until I know she's okay. That was my prayer. My prayer wasn't for my wife to get better. Of course, that was something I felt. But my prayer was, let me be here long enough to raise this beautiful baby that you gave me. And when Trinity was born, same thing. God, just give me the strength and the wisdom, because I don't know how to do this. You're entrusting me with the lives of 2 young people that I'm even scared to pick up, let alone raise them. And all the mistakes that I've made, can I even get a job to provide for them? Like, that was my greatest fear. And so when I think about this podcast, and this is where this is going to go left, I'm going to speak to men and I'm going to speak to women. And when you see this podcast, you probably have some comments for me. And that's okay, because if you're going to say it, you got to be willing to live with it. I will tell you, I do not understand. My mind cannot comprehend the idea of a father, of a man seeing a child born that he knows is his child and not feel compelled to take care or be there for the child. Now, I've heard all these stories. Well, it's the mama. The mama keeps him away. I don't have a good relationship with the mama. Let me say it to you this raw and uncut. That's bullshit. Bullshit excuse. Because if that's your child, it will take hell and high water to keep you. It should take you hell and high water to keep somebody from your child or keep your child from you. Hell or high water. If that means you got to go through the court systems and fight for them, you need to be going through the court system to fight for them. Fight to get custody, fight to get access. If you are someone who's okay with not seeing your child as a father, dude, you are so flawed in this life. I mean, flawed. If you don't have that innate desire to take care of the seed that is yours, something happened to you along the way that you didn't get the right development, because that should come instinctively for you. The moment that child is born, there should be something that comes over you that says, I have to spend at least the next 18, 20, 25, 30 years, and maybe the rest of my life to protect this child, to make sure they have everything they need to be successful in this life. And I say that because I have a cousin. My cousin Jelani, I talked to this dude, and my cousin Day. Like, the men in my life, the men that I'm close to, Vince, Herb, the men that I let in my circle, DJ, I won't even let anybody in my circle who's a deadbeat dad. My boy Chris Clark, and I forgot to mention Chris in the last video, dude. I love you, dude. One of my best friends, family. Mike Brown, family. I love y'all. So, man, I forgot to mention y'all on the podcast that I did a couple weeks ago, but just know it, family. But the fellas I let in my life, I know are stand-up fathers. And I ain't talking about child support dads. I'm not saying anything's wrong with that. I'm talking about a father is someone who nurtures their child. They nurture the relationship with their child. They're there for them. Now, you can't be there every time. I get it. Things happen in work and life and things and moments. But for the most part, you understand your role and responsibility. So I'm going to tell you this. When my daughters call me, I could be in a board meeting. If they call me, I'll look at it. But if they call me back a second time, I will excuse me, everyone. My daughters call. I need to make sure they're okay. If my sister calls me, same thing, right? If they call me back a second time, that means it's pretty important, and I'm going to find time to get back to them. Like I said in another video, I lived in 13 cities in 30 years. But I will get to them if they need me. And so if you're a man and you're out there and you have children, son or daughter, you have to ask yourself, how can you not feel compelled to be there? Don't put it on the mama. That's something that's flawed in you. And the other part is, and if you are having kids with multiple women and you not spending time with all of them, that's you. Now, y'all ain't going to like to hear this. I'm telling you what it is. There's something wrong with you if you don't understand your role as a father, and especially young ladies. Remember, how we treat them will often dictate who they let in their life later. They say a girl's first love is her father. That's what I've heard. And if that's the case, man, I'm going to set the bar pretty high for mine. I always say this. I tell my daughters this. A young man now, because they're young ladies, a young man going to have to do more than give you a steak dinner and a compliment and get some ass, because you're going to tell them my dad been feeding me steak since I was 7. And he tells me I'm a princess every time we get on the phone, because I want them to know that. So, fellas, I need you. For those fathers that are good fathers, Father's Day is coming up in June. You deserve it. And mothers, no offense, you're not a father. You're not. I'm sorry. You may take on the role of having to provide both what we consider father traits. I guess that's discipline, masculinity. But you're a wonderful mother. You could never be a wonderful father. But you absolutely are an amazing mother, an amazing woman who takes care of your children. And I commend you for that. But that does not replace the role of a father. Now, for ladies, I'm going to tell you something. Listen, you can be whatever you want. I'm not judging you because I know some of y'all are going to see this and take this the wrong way. But if you keep having babies with different men and none of them take care of the kids, you need to ask yourself what's wrong with you. If you have a baby with a man who already has a kid and he doesn't take care of that kid, he doesn't spend time with that kid, what makes you think he's going to change for you and the kid he has with you? And I'm saying that not to knock you, my beautiful sisters, whatever your race is, but so that you understand the power that you possess. And if you are a woman who is trying to keep a good father away from his kid because you are angry or you are bitter, you need to go deal with that trauma. Yes, you may not have the best relationship with the father, but the kid should never be used as a pawn in that game. Children need their parents, both mother and father, but those have to be healthy relationships. Just because you're the mom, that's one of the worst assumptions in the world, that a kid should be with the mom. The court systems do that all the time. Well, we think the kid should be with the mom. Sometimes the mom is the worst damn parent. That doesn't mean I'm bashing women. It just means sometimes a kid should be where the best place is, and that might mean being with the father. And if you're a father, I hope you hear this. As Father Day is coming up, if you know you a father and you ain't done stuff for your kid, you ain't been there consistently, you haven't nurtured that relationship, you don't even have the right to expect something on Father's Day. You shouldn't even think you deserve something. And I don't want you to take that the wrong way, but a father is more than someone who dropped a seed. I just want you to know that. And I pride myself on being a father. I pride myself on surrounding myself with good fathers, good men. And even though we're flawed, but we understand our role and responsibilities in that regard. So I know this is a different topic. Shout out Father's Day to all the men. Happy late Mother's Day to all the wonderful mothers out there, and to all you beautiful sisters and brothers of all races that have thrived in life without having a father present. I commend you, and I continue to pray for you. And for those of you that have one, cherish them, because you only get one. And when it's all said and done, I hope you'll be able to look back and say, that person right there was an excellent man, and what he gave me, I can never repay him for it. So, listen, I'll see you next time on the In His Voice podcast with me, Rob L. Lowe. Until then, take care. God bless.